Hey, what's up everybody? BDF44 coming at you another video. Alright. So, I went to the observatory, charged my phone, sat there for a little while, nothing too serious, came on back. And I ain't really feeling all that great, man. I feel like I usually do when my stomach is hurting. Or stomach doesn't hurt, but I feel lightheaded. That's how I feel. A little bit of a headache. Everybody around me is coughing, so I'm figuring it might be a decent idea for myself to buy either some vitamin C or some Emergen-C, and those are like preventative cold medications that you take when you think that the cold is in your midst. So yeah, I might have to drop off about $8 somewhere in one of these little CVS type stores to just grab some of that stuff, put it in some water, and take it, because everybody's sick. Everybody's sick. When I say everybody's sick, I mean it's like every third person is coughing right now. So I don't know if I'm coming down with something, because sometimes it feels like this in the first stages of it. I really hope not. But yeah, I think I'll probably cross the street and go to one of those places and just get some of that stuff and take it now. So yeah, man, it hasn't been a bad day. I just think that's been a part of the problem, and I think a lot of it had to do with me staying in the house all week last week for the most part. My body didn't really want to do anything but lay down in the daytime, that kind of thing. That ain't how I like to do it anymore, as you guys know. So I figure, hey man, I'll probably feel 100% by the time this walk ends. But you know, that's where we're at right now. So tomorrow I got the therapy session with Lydia. I believe that's tomorrow, the 4th. So I'll be there. I think it's at 1:30, but I'll check, maybe 1 o'clock. I haven't even as much as glanced at it since she gave me the paperwork, but I got it on my alarm system, so I'll make sure I have it ready for tomorrow. And that's really what it comes down to. Just be ready for that tomorrow. And you know, just very thankful. As I was telling God this morning in prayer, I'm very thankful that He's helping me address my my circumstances. I would have loved to have gotten this done sooner, years and years and years before it got to the point that I'm at right now. But I think it all worked out the way the Lord wanted it to. A lot of good things came from me kind of making the mistakes that I made and certain things that I did wrong. Kind of gave me some experience that otherwise I wouldn't have had. Gave me a chance to be in this position, for which a lot of things specifically happened because I was in this position. So I'm not unhappy. I'm not unhappy with how things are turning out. I'm just aware that there was an easier path, and who knows what good things could have been down that path too. But this was the one that the Lord has me on, and I'm thankful for life and thankful for even being here. So, and that's what it really comes down to for me, man. Get to a point in your life where you don't really think anything that you used to think was cool is cool. All that tough guy, wannabe, gangster energy, all of that stuff is just so far away from cool to me right now. You know what I mean? I just think I see so many people that either expect that out of me or provide that energy themselves as it pertains to this is how they get down and all of this. And it's like, I mean, if that's who you really are, there's nothing wrong with being who you really are. But as far as seeing my image and expecting me to act tough or want tough or going to be amused by that or whatever, it's not happening. I'm not. I done been through enough things in my life to know what real toughness actually is, and it ain't got nothing to do with a lot of stuff that people posturing. If anything, that's weakness in a lot of cases. So, you know, that's what I've been reflecting on too as I get off this train. I don't know who's real, who's fake. Because a lot of times you'll think energy is one thing and it's something else. Who knows? But as far as where I'm at in my life, I'm just not moved by stuff that I think a lot of people in my culture are, or culture that I used to think was cool. It ain't. It's bad energy. It's energy that's in place to make you cut down your own people and look at people who are adjacent to your people and want to cut them down too. It's thought up by somebody who didn't love us and inserted into our situation, and we've adapted to it. We've adopted it, so to speak, and I think that's what a lot of our culture actually is. It's meant to hate us. It's meant for us to hate others too. And it ain't deeper than that. So, you know, I do my own thing these days. I guess that's what it means by getting older. As you get older, the less and less things are necessarily cool, and the more and more you realize what real strength actually is, what it's not. How many people you've seen posture a certain way and end up being fakes, being cowards or whatever. Underneath a lot of that posturing is fear and weakness, all different types of stuff that you don't think is strong. And it's just like the truth. Standing in the truth is the strongest way to move. As the older I get, the more I realize that's what it is. You present yourself the way you are on the inside to the world around you. That's the strongest thing you can do, because there's so many people wearing masks, so many people trying to fit in, so many people trying to look as if they're more strong than they are, or look as if they're more cool than they are, try to adapt to other people's creative swagger so that they can have something for themselves when it's not really naturally there, that type of stuff. The older I get, the less cool that looks. The more foolish and more weak people look to me when they engage in that energy. And so, not to rain on anybody's parade, but I just don't think people are cool these days, man. Not a lot of them, a whole lot of them. I was looking at, photos from the Grammys, some of the celebrities. And, just like it's always been, it's a culture there that's unique. They're performers, so they have to dress a certain way, and they have a culture within that culture of being seen and then trying to be flamboyant and all of the different artistic ironies and things like that people try to present to the world, because they are figures of attention. Figures of attention. It's really what it is. They're figures of attention. So that they have so much attention pushed on them comes the culture of trying to be flamboyant and wild and look at me, and it's just so. The older I get, the more real stuff I notice going on in the world. The more aware of the genocides and all this different stuff that's going on in the world. The less I respect that, to be honest with you. The less I respect that, because the way I see it is, if you're a beacon of attention, then what all could you, by pointing, raise awareness to, if not for your over-enthralled mindset of worshiping self and the attention you receive, demanding it not for the betterment of anyone, just for the sake of it in and of itself. It's like the culture of internet. People want to be seen because they want to be seen. They don't really care what they're famous for, just that more and more people are paying attention to them. It's just, it's an endless cycle of nothingness when you really consider it. They ain't helping nobody. They're not even really helping themselves. A lot of times they look foolish. They're pushing poison or nothingness into a world full of distractions. It's a waste of attention. It's a waste. And there's so many examples of this across so many different generations. See, I'm starting to get to a point where I'm just like, man, we're really just not learning. It's a generation of people that are not learning anything from the past. We're just destined to make the choices that our ancestors made, yielding them the same results, or sometimes worse than what ultimately came their way. It's nothingness. And that's exactly how I feel about a lot of this stuff. Stuff that seems so cool, now it's nothing. Stuff that seems so in, it's now nothing to me. And it's just a waste of attention. It's people pointed in one direction, being distracted from what it is that the true purpose would actually be. Because they're too busy worshiping those who worship themselves and the attention that whatever it is they're able to make happen for themselves brings. They worship that attention for whatever they're famous for. It's like, and they will do everything they can to not lead people in a different direction, but to more so promote the culture of self-worship and attention worship. It's just nothing. It's absolutely nothing. And our country is, in America, is built on that being like a good centerpiece of what it is that people ultimately worship in this country. It's attention. Give me mine. I want mine. Give me mine. You see me, now look at me. I'm stunting on all of you. Ha! It's like it's a certain, it doesn't hold any real substance. It doesn't provide even them anything real. It's just a mindset that you've conquered something that didn't really even require you to conquer it in order to receive it. Like, now I'm important. Nobody said you weren't. You agreed with the world that was telling you you weren't important unless you had this endless emptiness of attention in order to hold some value. And now that you have it, you harbor the imaginary confidence of this imaginary value. It's not actually value. You get around a bunch of people who are living real lives and difficult lives. It's like, if you're not there to entertain them or pull them away from the struggles of their lives, they really could give a crap about you. You're not providing anything that would otherwise make them love you. They just love the distraction you provide them away from the attention that they have on their problems, away from the injustices that ultimately they face or are imposing upon others, the accountability that comes with that. Like, you distract them from them having to pay attention to what type of human being they are. And while you're worshiping that attention, they too are worshiping that attention because it saves them from accountability and or depression or whatever the, you know what I mean? From the realness of their own lives. But it's not making them any stronger in a lot of cases unless you're providing some substance, which very few who are in that culture actually do. And leading people down a path that starts off looking cool and ends up looking rotten in the end. How many people, oh, let's smoke this, drink this, get money, do this, illegal that. They dead. They in jail. Their bodies rotten. They living on the street because of the decisions that they've made, following you down that path for which you told them was cool when was really actually nothing. Giving away their souls to gain money that they're going to give away to keep up with the culture of nothingness. It's nothing. That's the point. The older I get, the more I realize that it's a lot of people in the endless cycle of nothingness that continues by way of each and every one of them continuing to promote that empty pit of nothingness. And the more I consider that, the less I appreciate it. And that's why I tell everybody, yes, I am BDF44. I am, at this point, somebody who you may turn on and see, talking alone about things that matter to me and my interests and things of that nature. And if that makes me a person who provides more of that same culture, that's unfortunate, but it's not my intention. I try to put substance in everything that I do, something that you can take from it and give to somebody else that would otherwise make you either better, make you think, provide an example that you can use, provide some faith, or the understanding that applied faith has yielded positive results in my life. Substance, things that actually work instead of just nothingness. I don't want to provide nothingness. I'm not here for attention just for the sake of attention because attention is, and therefore, but that's a culture that's meant to distract and destroy. That's it, man. It ain't meant for nothing else. And that we worship it makes it so that we're promoters of distraction and destruction, literally. And the older I get, the more real this is revealed to me. This is real. This is exactly what it is. And so I just want people to understand my point of view when I say, yeah, I love myself and I love the fact that I have a voice, but there's not a day that goes by that I don't ask the Lord to use my voice for reasons that are of His wishes, and not just to exalt myself or have myself reach in some space from which people exalt me because of me and whatever comes out of my face. That's not at all intentional for me. I'm not interested in any of that energy upon my name or upon my image in the future. When you look back at me, I want to be remembered for the stuff that I stood up for. That's it. That's literally it. For the example that I had, for whatever good that I'm ultimately able to accomplish in using my voice or whatever else I'm able to do throughout the course of my living life. The body don't last forever. Attention is only valuable if you're passing forward testimony and lessons learned and ways that people can, and better their lives. And then having a proper definition of what that actually means. But a lot of times people think better in their lives is getting things that ultimately deteriorate their bodies, deteriorate their minds, and make them look cool to people that want to do the same thing to themselves. Like, that's not bettering them. And so that's why I'm telling all of you guys, consider the truth about celebrity worship and substance worship. Well, not substance, but material worship, vanity. It's meant to make you callous in the presence of people who really need your attention for reasons that make a lot of sense, like helping their lives out, making them feel confident, making them feel like they can win without the presence of things, the crutches that make them feel whole. Crutches, like things that they have to pay so much for when they can't afford it, or poison that they got to put in their body to destroy them. Violence and the reputation that got to come with that. Stuff that ain't no good for them, man. You don't need none of that stuff. You don't need any of that on your name. As the world changes and people start to look at those things differently, you don't want to be looked at as somebody who upheld that crap. A lot of us want to be so tough. We want to be known for how much we've done wrong. And then in that same breath, want to get mad at people for telling on us in regards to our wrongdoing. It doesn't make any sense when you consider the culture itself and what it is you're actually upholding when you worship attention for wrongdoing, but then shun those who actually share that you've done wrong. It doesn't make any sense. A lot of y'all adapt to the self-snitching era, but then also believe that snitches need to be shunned. It's like, you are the snitch, and you are effectively shunning yourself when you do certain things that deteriorate your reputation and, of course, that of your health. It's not complicated, but a lot of us make it so. And it really just does come down to people not knowing any better, and then furthermore not loving themselves enough to be a better reflection toward others, and thus followers and stupid people alike follow those behaviors of those who have self-loathing complexes, vanity complexes, emptiness that they think can be fulfilled by empty practices. Like literally. It just continues to influence the impressionable into spaces that further influence the impressionable. And it never actually ends until enough people are able to be known for things that aren't nothing like that. Till enough of those individuals are also influential to outweigh that for which is empty. Then you start understanding that there's hope for the culture itself to not just be self-destructive and deteriorating and what have you. It's got to be a better way for us to influence ourselves and influence our children, influence the young people around us, than to just tell them how to hurt themselves and others and feel confident from it. Gain strength from that and don't feel like they're cool unless they engage in that. I mean, you know, it's not too many cultures in this era, especially pointed at people of color, that don't teach them how to hate themselves, teach them how to hate other people, teach them how to act like they don't have any damn sense at all of what's going to be good for them and what's not. Just continue to pour poison into yourself, poison into your mind, showing anything that otherwise holds you accountable for that, throw a finger at God, hate him, like anything that'll destroy people is what ultimately we know so much about. How to destroy ourselves. We're good at that. How to make people not like us, how to make people look at us crazy, clutch their purses around us. We're really, really good at that. Representing all of us as we continue to engage in whatever ways we do in that way. And the first thing we do is get upset when people don't treat us fairly, but look at what we allow ourselves to be seen as. And people don't know us, so all they think of us is what they see of us when they see us from afar. And they don't think much of that. They fear it in a lot of cases, especially if you're black. And so that's why I want us to kind of deteriorate these invested cultures of nothingness. Deteriorate them from the inside out. It's change. Put forth an energy within yourself that exudes a certain truth about your strengths, about your weaknesses, about your shortcomings, about your accomplishments, your hopes, even your addictions and things of that nature. Within reason. Because they'll lock you up for some of that stuff. But like, that's what real strength is being able to stand on your square and be yourself. Not trying to posture a fake image in the presence of a bunch of people who adapt to that same fakeness. Like that's doing the same thing within themselves that you're doing as they see you. And so that's what's been in my mind as I've been kind of meditating today. Hoping I'm doing a better job of that in this era of my life than I have in the past. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of what they do has them running toward a brick wall at top speed. And we see that the engagement of them enjoying that folly and shunning all wisdom. And then when they hit that wall, it becomes real to them. And yet, despite how many people we see hit them damn walls, engaging in those behaviors, we still don't actually learn as a people. It's like we learn that we can kill ourselves effectively, and that's like what we're aiming for, it seems. It's not that we're learning from the lesson, it's that we appreciate the hardships that come from those difficulties, from those behaviors that ultimately lead poor results. It's like we're aiming for those results. And that's why self-loathing is such a point of emphasis in this conversation. You hate yourself, or you've adapted to cultures that make you hate yourself. Some people lack self-awareness, so that makes it very difficult for them to stop doing certain things. But the presence of hating yourself, a lot of times, a lot of depression just stems from a person beating themselves up. And then further being bad to reinforce the truth of the harshness and the criticism that they place upon themselves. So they go out and be a bad person to reinforce that for which they think of themselves. I'm a terrible human being, and they go out and be terrible human beings. And whatever comes of that just comes with that. The person who loves themselves don't want to receive goodness from the world around them. Welcome positivity in. Welcome love rather than hate. Self-loathing will have you saying everybody's a hater and I gotta get mine and shine in their faces. And the more they hate me, the more I get power from that. That's a self-loathing culture. That's a culture that is meant to feed that for which is to destroy you from the inside out. And we teach this to one another so often in so many different ways, especially in these cultures that are upheld by people of color. See, the most pessimistic point of views in the world around us think that everybody's either out to get us or out to shun us, as we proceed to engage in behaviors that shun ourselves. Being our worst enemies and teaching others how to be the same thing. Nothingness. And we got to undo some of the sorcery, because a lot of this is invested in cultures. A lot of this is put into the music, put into the images that we see of ourselves every day. As we look at what we look at, put on by people who don't love us, influencing our mind, cultures, dreams, consciousness, subconsciousness, etc. We got to understand where the sorcery begins and where our own manifestation of self-loathing begins. Because there is a thin line between what it is that was placed in your head, that you've adopted, and what you place upon your head with poor practices that are not influenced by anything that anybody else put in your head. That's why it's important, if you're a believer in God, to pray prayers of guarding your thoughts. As my father and my mother used to tell me, guard your thoughts. Ask the Lord to surround you with his people, is what my mom used to say. I added, Lord, if you're going to surround me with your people, make me your person, so that I too can be of service to your people, rather than just a bad person surrounded by good people. See, that's what I added to it. But it's like, for me, that's what it is. You follow the Lord and what it is he wants for you, and the more you do that, the more you see him lead you toward better outcomes than what it is that you were aiming for without him. You know, my mother, many people have told me, let go and let God, but what does that actually look like? You trust what's in your head and believe that that's God, because that's where a lot of people go wrong. They don't hold themselves accountable, but they do think God live in their head. They do believe God live in their head, so they just listen to whatever is in their head, and they say, that's God right there. Like, no, that's in your head. The Lord ain't gonna let you just run with any old thing and make you think you're the center of attention in all things, and that everything is catered to your happiness, and that's it. Any good thing you do, you're supposed to be celebrated for, and any bad thing you do, you're gonna be forgiven for. A lot of people believe that stuff. God live in their head. And the enemy can live right there too. And so that's what it really comes down to spend enough time for me personally in a space of meditation where I'm asking the Lord to guard my thoughts, to enter my mind, to filter everything that I have for everyone else through him. A concept that we talked about on this camera about a year ago when I was dealing with something. Like, I'm sending you up all the energy I got for those people. Send back anything that you want me to give them, so that the energy that I'm giving them has been filtered through the Holy Spirit. That way, whatever that shouldn't be there, that's been influenced by poor culture or self-loathing or energy of enemy or whatever the case you want to call it, doesn't actually hit the people that I'm intending to reach with whatever it is I have to say. Those are the type of prayers we gotta say to filter that for which is our own energy in our thoughts, the enemy's energy in our thoughts, poor reactions, carrying old baggage into new situations. All of that stuff should be filtered through something divine if you're a believer in that sort of thing. That way, you don't believe that God just lives in your head, but that for which is in your head gets filtered through a God that's above. And if you believe in God, you know he can do it. And they don't teach you these things. They, meaning the world around us, don't teach us that this is possible. But if you believe all things are possible through God, then you got to get creative in devising ways of helping him help you help others. And the latest one for me, and I may have mentioned this on camera as well, is asking God to help me interpret his intentions properly. so that I'm not taking something that I think is coming to me that really is just simply in my head, attached to something that I don't know is no good, part of old immature cultures that haven't been properly filtered through this 40-year-old person that I am now. Still thinking certain things that I would have thought back then, attaching what it is that's ultimately going on right now to those things. Like, let me interpret what it is that you're saying, not what it is I think you're saying, and then running with it, because that's gotten me in trouble. That's brought about the results that I did not want in my life, more than once. And then you walk away unhappy with God because you think he told you something that he may not have said at all. He might have been trying to get you to understand something entirely different, but you interpreted it the wrong way and ran with it. Solution to that? Lord, help me understand your intentions. Help me understand your means of communication, however they may be. And when you communicate with me and you know I don't have it, bump me in a way that allows me to understand that, so that I don't hastily jump into a space where I'm pushing forward something that you don't intend, getting the wrong results in the end. So that's really what it is for people like myself who believe that God speaks to them, through them, or whatever. Man, the enemy can do the same thing. A lot of us are working in sin, and a lot of times we don't even know it. Sometimes you get up in the morning, you forget that you ain't talked to God asking him to work through your mind. And while he may, so too may the enemy, and the energy that you may have been welcoming some other way. And that's why spiritually sensitive people got to say certain types of prayers to keep themselves from being used by the enemy. He will use you. Just like God is able to, the enemy will if you allow him in. And a lot of times we don't know that we've done so, because the cultures that we engage in, the practices that we engage in, do so by default in a lot of cases, which is what I'm aware of, but I'm starting to really work into the equation as I do whatever it is I do. Some of the songs that we listen to are sorcery, welcoming the enemy into our minds. Some of the things that we engage in regards to our internet practices, stuff that we like to look at, some of that is equivalent to you asking the devil to take over your brain and help filter things out that are good so that bad can come out of you toward those you are reaching with your intentions and words and energy. Now, we're none the wiser. Half the people who are haven't been used by this don't even know such things exist. It's not like the world is teaching them this. A lot of people don't even believe in God, so they definitely ain't going down the rabbit hole of asking for any of these things. But I think that's why I'm here. I'm here to try to incorporate some understanding that this is a thing and that we need to start doing what we need to do through God to undo what is placed upon us in sorcery, curses, and all different types of stuff that we welcome in our lives just through the practices of culture that is really not of God. Not everybody's going to church, not everybody's reading the Bible, not everybody's reading the Quran, not everybody's praying. You know what I mean? Some people are just being used in whatever way they are. And they're influencing the impressionable with those practices that are unfiltered, unchecked, and ultimately encouraged. And they're affecting other people, some who are spiritually sensitive, some who are believers, but maybe impressionable or in dark spaces in the current times in their lives. And so that's why I'm able to speak the way I am. This is why I pray the way I do. This is why my content at times is like this. Because when I meditate, this is exactly what it is that he puts in me to share with others. And that's what the voice is for, man. Not just to raise awareness and point fingers at those who are doing the worst things in the world, but to point inward and say, look, we got to do some things differently so we can interpret the Lord's intentions upon our lives properly, so that we can hear him when he's trying to speak to us, so that we can stop doing what we're doing at a moment's notice so he can reach us. That's a very important aspect of this. Timing is everything in a lot of things. People of the world in a lot of cases say time is money. But when it comes to God, I think timing is also very, very essential. So if we're distracted doing things we have no business doing, and he needs us to move right now, and he needs us to hear what he's saying right that moment, you'll miss the call. You'll miss his call on your life. There's many times where I've come to think that while I was doing things that didn't have nothing to do with God, that I missed a call to prayer, missed a call to feel something that he wanted me to feel. And the reason why I think that is because when I do meditate, sometimes concepts come to me that relate to other people. Like, yo, this person may be going through something. This person, think of this person. The Lord will put it in my heart, hey, pray for this particular thing. It's like, well, how many of these am I not getting because I'm doing all kinds of other stuff that ain't got nothing to do with you? How many times have you been willing to reach out to me for the betterment of somebody else, or align me with the timing of somebody needing something in a given moment, or putting some thought in my mind about somebody I ain't thought of in 30 years or whatever? How many of these did I miss while I was doing other stuff that didn't have nothing to do with you? And that's when the concept of understanding that, the timing of it all. If you engage in something you ain't got no business doing, and God needs you at a moment's notice, now all of a sudden you've missed the call, man. Again, there are a lot of people who don't believe in God, don't have this type of communication with him, don't have this type of thing in their spirituality, and for that, this might not be for you. This may not be for you. But there are going to be a lot of people around you who this is definitely for. And they need to understand that a lot of stuff that they're engaging in is keeping them off of God's timing and on the devil's timing, when they want to be people of God. And they can't seem to figure out why things don't work out in their lives. They can't seem to figure out why they keep getting bad luck, or why they feel so drawn to things that they know are no good, or why they can't live without a certain thing that's been taken away from them, or why they're having a hard time healing from a certain thing that happened to them, why they feel urges to do the worst things because they feel betrayed. That's because you've been on the devil's timing. God, if you were on his timing, if you were aligned with what it is he's telling you, he would have told you that something was coming, that you would require strength of you. Something is coming that will require you to meditate. Or something is coming that will require you to deviate from the plan you're on, or audible out of the play you're running. If you would let God in on a little more of what it is you're doing, he'd be able to help you avoid some of what is coming. And the enemy understands this, and he's incorporated a lot of things into our cultures and into the different things we're influenced by that do the absolute opposite, so that those calls can be missed, so that those outcomes can be realized, and that we could be as miserable as we ultimately going to be for it. And our young people are most susceptible. Those of us who are fresh to the earth, just got here, everything's new, everything's cool, everything's impressionable, they the ones he used the most. Try y'all doing things that are going to derail your life for years and years and years. And everything that's been invested in, that you are influenced by, is ultimately meant for that very thing, to destroy your life in one of many ways. They want you to do this, do that, do this, do that, and none of those things lead to good outcomes for you. Lead to a lifetime of regret, pain, deterioration of your body, fast aging, diseases that can't be shaken off with cream. You understand what I'm saying? Stuff you need pills for a long time. Addictions that you need help for. Like, this is what a lot of the stuff that we are told is cool is meant to coerce us into. And a lot of the people, as I've, started my conversation about, who are teaching us how to do this, are worshiping the attention that comes from just doing this. They don't believe they're part of a bigger picture. And if they are, it's about something that's centered around them and the attention they're getting. People are just NPCs that they're looking to gain money from. They don't have any clue of what influence they have on the world or the cultures of the world tumbling forward. They don't care. That's why they've been chosen to be so famous, because they don't really have any spiritual energy at all, and yet influence so many spirits in so many different ways to overcome. Yeah, if you're one of those people, you need to have an awakening right now. As soon as this video ends, you probably should turn it off and get to praying. Because God will help you see exactly what it is that I'm saying to be true. That you ain't really here to do anything but the enemy's bidding, and you're going to suffer for it. Not only for the things that you've done, but for the things that you lead others down the path of. So the more famous you are, the more people you influence, the more punishment you're going to get for influencing as many people as you have. You're a bad big brother, and it's going to be bad for you. Yeah, that's the truth. Like celebrities, oh man, drink this, smoke that, take this, take that, do this, have that. Okay, cool. And when Judgment Day come around, he giving you the wrath of 1,000 men because you influenced 1 million people in 1,000 bad ways. It's like, it goes down just like that. Like, God, I wasn't even this bad. You treat me like I'm Hitler. You might as well have been. There's many people that ended up dead because of what it is you told them to do through your music, through your actions, through your behavior, through your image, through your example of how you treat yourself while they're watching you, I'm telling you. Some of y'all going down a path of endless suffering, and it ain't even like you did nothing that bad. You just allowed the world to see you doing awful things that people were influenced by, led them down the path of being the worst people they could be. And God will hold you accountable for all of the things they did. Like, literally. Because you sparked the mind that ultimately sparked the evil that they did. Yeah. So, that's what he put me out here for. This is exactly what he wants to try to turn the tide on, I believe. This and many other things. A lot of the stuff we just moonwalk into, we back into, like, you know what I mean? We just slide into these energies and these cultures and these mistakes, and it ain't a soul around us to tell us, yo, this is not real, this is fake, this is not good. It's for deterioration of ourselves and others. You don't have to feel as bad as you're gonna feel, because a lot of what it is that you're welcoming is of the enemy, and he brings about depression, he brings about self-loathing, and then he brings about the consequences that come from engaging in self-loathing practices. This is deliberate. It's an attack upon humanity, upon your people, upon your energy. It's meant to make you worse and teach others how to be worse so they can pass forward for many years to come, well past your passing. And if you have only a passion for that for which is attention, then that's what's going to be. That's exactly what it's going to be. Is you being worse for it in the end, and others being worse because of you as well. And that is why we need to get into a space where we allow for more meditation with the welcoming of something greater than ourselves to lead us down a path for which his grace will provide, regardless of what faith or religion you've been provided, that you follow it down the path of allowing you to be better than that for which you were taught in this world. Because man will have you separate by religion. They'll tell you, oh man, this path is only for the Christians. No, it's not. It's for those who inhabit flesh in a given moment. All of us. Religion has long been used to separate people. Take this from somebody who believes. It's long been used to separate people. But the crux of the religions that are attached to the Creator often bring us together and tell us to love our neighbors. That's what it ultimately is about. Anything else, it's meant to divide and conquer you. Divide you from your purpose, divide you from people you can help, surround you with an understanding that isn't real, that you are in a space where you are surrounded by people that hate you, and that you only love yourself by engaging in self-deteriorating cultures. That's exactly what a lot of religion teaches us. that we need to be shunning people who don't have it all together, pushing them away for what they cannot bring to the table and being, their best yet, or what have you. Keeping them from effectively growing into being their best from the presence that we provide, from just being welcoming of them. Teaching people how to be better. Pushing them away from not being that already. It defeats the purpose of what a religion actually is. We talked about this recently. But so many religions practice this, not knowing that is no different than the cultures that are placed into, the practices that are placed into our cultures that make us do things that are no good for us, like drinking and drugs and all this stuff. It's just another effective version of that in places where otherwise we would also pay attention to and lend our brain to. The enemy infiltrates everything he thinks you're paying attention to and plants these seeds that he hopes will bloom into atomic bombs that destroy many. So if he knows you're paying attention to religion, he's going to put the stuff in religion. He knows you're paying attention to games. He's going to put the stuff in the games. He knows you're paying attention to TV shows and news. He's going to put the stuff in the news. Music. He's going to place these seeds in the music. Anything he thinks you're paying attention to, he's going to try to plant seeds of self-loathing cultures that are meant to have you influencing others into doing the same things. Stuff that reflects poorly upon yourself and others without you ever really even realizing it. And given the fact that most people aren't filtering what it is they do and say through something greater than themselves in a lot of cases, they allow these seeds to infiltrate into things that they think are meant for their betterment and meant for the betterment of others. So many pastors are interested in getting your money. A lot of them think they're great human beings. But the whole thing about them is they're not reinventing the wheel. They're just doing what they've been taught in a lot of cases. So now that they have their churches, it's all about you paying and them shunning you for not. Throw a little word in there here and there. Not having any understanding that was a seed that was planted by the enemy to turn people away from one another and ultimately divide and conquer. Have people skeptical about things that are attached to the belief in a God that's greater than themselves that they otherwise shouldn't trust. That's literally all that is. It's not actually meant to be effective in taking all your money, so to speak. It's supposed to be effective and make you turn away from religion and turn away from something greater than yourself. If they present themselves as deviants, as liars, as mask wearers, those of us who are wise enough to see that that's what it is, turn away. I don't have nothing to do with that. I don't have nothing to do with God. I don't want to believe in religion, because religion brings about war. Like, that's why. Because it's meant to turn those who are on the fence away from it. Turn those who are on the fence away from communities that ultimately help them undo that for which are seeds that have been planted in the cultures they face. They focus on. It's an endless cycle. And human beings are plagued by this cancer. And this is why, once again, I think he put this in my heart to say to you all. Turn toward God when you're going through difficulties. Turn toward God when you've been betrayed. Turn toward God when lies are being revealed to you as lies. Not away from them. Turn toward God when people are breaking your heart. Turn toward God when you've made a mistake and hurt somebody else. Turn toward God when something traumatic happens in your life. Because those instances are meant to turn you away from it. Make you doubt that such a thing, it could help you. But those occurrences can bring you closer to God. As we talked about with good things too. When you find somebody that you think you might be close to, in yoke, so to speak, somebody you think you can marry, turn toward God and check in with him about those people. Allow those things to bring you closer to a relationship with God that allows him to reach you more intimately. Because that's really what it's about. Then he can lead you down a path that takes you away from things that are meant to shut him out. PDF 44, I thank you all for watching.